Namaste, and thanks everyone for coming and joining to this Surya Namaskar workshop. And today we're going to be understanding and practicing how can we do sun salutation in a way in which brings us to this dimension of yoga. So yoga, if you have seen the other videos, or if you are acquainted about what is yoga, yoga is the approach to life in which our mind is not getting disturbed, and that process happens because we are cleansing what creates disturbance in the first place, which are mind conditions, or you can call them samskaras. And how practical postures, so in a very short way, can make this journey for us is about sthira sukham, which means that stability with comfort, which brings a state in which there is no duality, there is no confinement, there is no feeling border of the body, which brings like that dimension of undisturbance, which is the core of our being, which is our consciousness. So if you can be same here, same here, same here, what it means that there is nothing that's affecting me to that extent. I have the facilitating of my presence, not my awareness is triggering by a gross experience. So that is how actually postures prepares meditation. That's how postures makes this journey from gross to subtle. That's how these postures make us align to the self from sthiram sukham, which brings us to the state of ananta samapatiyam. And that's a big topic, but today we're just setting up some foundations to understand sun salutations. And then if the purpose is to be still, to be in a non-dual state, why we need then to make movements? Because sun salutations is about, we can say, constantly creating movements, the vinyasa flow. So we can see that yoga is an organized approach. It means that it has some science behind it, in which makes us to make this metaphysical journey, which is a quite subtle journey and quite not easy journey. If you want to control your thoughts, not something that can happen very easily. So for that, imagine if we have, I'm just coming back to my office, I'm just functioning, talking to people, my movements is all over, my mind is all over, I'm interacting with many things, and then I have to go and be in this totally emptiness. It's not very easy. So that's why sun salutation creates this bridge between existential expression, outer functioning. That bridge, that gap is closed by the practice of Surya Namaskar or sun salutation. So now we can make this question, how sun salutation should be practiced in order to making this journey from outer functioning to existential expression to happen smoothly. So we can see, as I'm outer functioning, my awareness, it can be triggered by many things. If I have to think about what I have to plan, what I have to do, I have to perceive, I have to talk, I have to interact. So my awareful state, it will be a little bit less focused in myself, if I'm just having no interactions whatsoever. And still in that interaction, I am kind of functioning because I'm in movement. So from the background of awareness, it's starting to align us to functioning in a more, we can say, towards ourselves. From the background of freedom, what happens is, if I have to cross the road, I have to cross the road in a certain way. There is people coming, I have to, if someone is coming towards me, I have to go a little bit to the left or to the right. Outer things are going to be imposed on me. When I'm the mat, if I'm in a serene place like this, nobody's going to be coming here. There's no nothing actually is going to be changing my willfulness to make a movement. If I want to make a forward fold, I can easily make a forward fold without any kind of interference. So it creates more space, it creates more freedom state, and stillness is totally freedom. Another point is, it's a more organized expression, because you see, most of sun salutations, they have only to the front, to the back, forward fold, slightly back bending. So it starts to making, how can I say, from things that can be scattered or things that can be very random all over to things that are being more organized. And then from that organized, then it becomes nothing, which is everything. So that is what we can say, how Sun Salutation builds this bridge to facilitate our journey from outer functioning to existential expression. So now that we said that, we laid down the foundations, how can we actually see some specific elements in which allow us to put that in practice? And for that, we can start seeing what are the things that can create building or impediments for that. One thing is, if I start to create unnecessary movements. So let's say, for instance, if I'm here and I wanted to go from Namaskarasana to Urdhva Mukha Namaskarasana, I can go making my arms like this and then make like this, or I can just in one line straight go up. So it means that I'm not creating things that are unnecessary to my movements. If I, for instance, I'm in Cobra, sometimes we can see, and we're going to be practicing this, I can tuck my toes, I can put my toes flat, then I also am going to creating more unnecessary movements. So in that, I'm moving away from stillness. Okay? This is one point, like how can we avoid unnecessary movement which brings more change. As we align to stillness, we want to be changeless. Another point is, as much as there is variation in our speed, what it means something is triggering a change in me. If you have like a particle which is just going in the same speed, it means that nothing is interfering with the speed. If there is something like let's say some counter force of the air which creates some kind of friction, then it starts to lose some momentum because something's changing her. So in the same way, if I'm making Sun Salutation, to what extent can I keep sameness in my speed? It means that I'm having to be in constant dimension, to moment to balance, to be in neutrality. You know, if I give a forward fold, for instance, and I start to feel some heaviness, and then I might go faster because at some point the physical laws start to affect my weight. In the same way, if I'm Parvatasana, I'm going to be actually practicing this, and I'm moving towards Astanga Panipadasana, at some point I can feel heaviness and I just drop my whole body. Why? Heaviness. It creates duality, is affecting my physicality. If I can just go on moving in the same speed, it means I'm bringing the change less in the change, which makes this alignment towards stillness. Now, another point you can see in Sun Salutation is to what extent, since the stillness gives no conclusion, no borders, it does not create any separation or bifurcation. And what happens is, with creating some kind of movement and change, there is a mind tendency to bifurcate and to be focused in that change. So if I have my hands here and I want to make it up, if my mind is identified with nature, it's just focused on one thing, it loses the full body awareness, which is restrict my awareness. And of course, yoga is the path of expansion. Ego creates more restrictions, more focus. Expansion creates more expansion of our awareness, which is actually one of the important things that we say in Yoga Sutras, the state of awareness, prajna purvaka itaresham. So every time we are moving one particular body part, we are not losing our full body awareness. So this was the introduction for the practical adaptability we're going to be doing now. So now let's see how can we understand now and practice from the background of not creating multiple movements. So we can see, like for instance, we can take two examples. If I'm here, then as I inhale, I sink the knees, hips to the front, arms up. So my hands, they make it just a straight line. I'm not going to be from here, down, and then up. So you can just practice together, hands in Namaskar in front of the chest. And with inhalation, sink the knees, hips to the front, arms up. And coming back. Now imagine now, if I'm here, I'm going to Astanga Panipadasana. Then I move into Cobra. Then what I can do, I maybe have the tendency to change the position of my toes. And then if I want to go back to Paravatasana, then I have to make like this and come back. So that's why if I'm going from here, then here, toes tucked. So this was a second one about multiple movements. And you can maybe just see in your own practice, whatever you are creating extra things is simple. Align to stillness, aligns to permanency, aligns to consciousness. So this is some examples of this avoiding multiple movements. And now we're going for how can we keep uniformity in our speed. And this is an important concept also because not only external things such as gravity or maybe imbalances can create a change in your movement, but also mind. Because if I'm here, let's say, and then I want to go up, if I have a target, then I just, at some point, I create a sudden jerk. The same thing, if I lose my awareness, I just drop my arm. So that constantly presence also allow us to have that uniformity of movement. And if there is any restriction that might arise as my physicality, as imbalances, as was something or alignments and adjustments, I'm working both ways. So we can see that now in this transition. So as I'm in Parvatasana, I want to move now to Astanga Pranipadasana and just make like one would be changing my speeds. I come and then at some point I feel heavy and then I just dropped. Then you see that at some point there was a submission. I got submitted by the influence of the gravity at my physicality. So how can we express that in a more proper way? We balance in the hands and the feet and we keep this equal distribution of weight as we're moving towards the ground. And then you go again. Balance on the hands and the feet. And if you see, there is also a adoption of the prisoner's principle in which I can make also creating multiple movements, which would be first the knee, then the chest, then the chin, which will create like more change. That's okay if you feel more heaviness on your arms, but as much as possible, we're trying to move towards that in which just one single expression that brings synchronicity. So another point that we can see also in changes velocity, imagine we are in upward facing dog, then now you want to go to Paravatasana. Then I can create a kind of jerk. And if you see, there is the pushing of my hands against the ground, and that action reaction, it creates the momentum to lift up my body. So now as I'm having not one thing, because if I push the ground pushes me. Action, reaction, one thing act upon the other, which of course does not bring us to real stillness, because stillness is an independent state. So how I'm avoiding or minimizing any external thing, any support external. Same velocity. You can do a couple of times. So these are some examples about how what creates change in speed. Also in the beginning, how I said in the mind. So constant observation. That's what Adhyaya, I mean, throughout the whole practice, no matter which practice. And now you're going for another point. So now we're gonna see how to not bifurcate our awareness, not to restrict our awareness, to have this cultivate this full body awareness. And from that, we can take an example of step into the front, and after we're going to be doing the whole sun salutation. But let's say I'm here, I'm in Parvatasana, and I would like now to step to the front. As I go into Ashwachansalasana. So we can see also the relationship with the previous principle, that I do not want to create a jerk if I'm here, and then at some point, oh, I press my back foot, and out of this action reaction, then I can create a momentum to step my foot to the front. So to avoid that, we can just go as much as we can, and then we can crawl. But to get to the full body awareness, as I'm going to the front, I'm not losing the awareness of my arms, of my back foot. I'm having this full body awareness, not triggered by the change which is created by the step into the front. So I'm making the movement, still aware of my arms, still aware of my back leg, still aware of my whole body. Not letting the change create a difference in the state of my mind. And you can practice that, as much as you want. Another one, which is more easy, is about how you're rising up the arms. So we can rise up the arms, just having the awareness of the arms that are rising up, but now we can start feeling the toes touching the ground. I feel my legs, the position of my hips. And then as I inhale, then having this full awareness, my mind is not triggered by changes, by growth. I release. Inhale, full body awareness. Exhale, release. Same thing. And you can see also, if at some point I just drop it, I change velocity, it means somehow I lost my awareness. Huh? So you see all those things, they're interwoven to each other. So this was for this another adoption, practical adoption. So now we're going for the full sound salutation. I'm giving the instructions. We're trying to merge everything together now. And we can just come at the top of the mat, bring both feet close to each other. Why I say close to each other? Because if they're more apart to each other, more effect of gravity. That's the difference between down facing dog and Parvatasana. Parvatasana, feet are close to each other to have more lightness. And now keeping the full body awareness as you exhale, bring both hands in Namaskarasana in front of the chest. And now we're going to be synchronizing the sink of the knees, hips to the front, arms up, to avoid any multiple movements. And as you inhale, sink the knees, hips to the front, arms up. Same velocity. And then as you exhale, start making forward folds. And keeping the back straight as you're going towards the ground, not letting the gravity makes an over push of you. Now as you inhale, as you have the awareness of your hands on your both feet, you're going to be stepping back with the left leg, but having the awareness on your hands and your front foot. As you place the knee on the ground and rising up your whole body. So now we can explore the synchronicity to avoid the multiple movements. With exhalation, as you're going to be lifting up the knee, you're making a forward fold as you're placing the hands on the ground and stepping back in Parvatasana. Have a couple of inhalations and exhalations. And as you fully now exhale, keeping the balance on your hands and your feet, start moving to Astanga Panipadasana, not making any change in the velocity. As you start in the movement, at the velocity you keep as you go down, landing everything at the same time as far as possible. Now understanding that you're not using the support of the hands to go in Cobra, not to create independencies, as we saw. Inhalation, extension of the spine in Bhujangasana, Cobra. And just attention that your toes are tucked to the whole movement. Not changing the position of the toes, so I change here and change there. Multiple movements. And now with exhalation, you're going to be keeping the knees on the ground, as far as possible using the strength of the whole lower body to minimizing the pushing and pressing of the hands. Independency of your expression in coming to Shashankasana. And with your next inhalation, starting coming to the front, full body awareness, toes and heels in the same line, and starting going to upward facing dog. And now not creating jerks, just move back into Parvatasana. And you come back now, again, to upward facing dog, and making this smooth transition in the same velocity, minimizing the usage of the hands or the toes. Full body expression, which minimizes action-reaction. Now having the awareness on your arms and both feet, starting with inhalation, step into the front with the left, but keep awareness on your back heel and your arms, just as far as you can, avoiding jerks. Now as you go to the front, do not place the knee on the ground. Now with your next inhalation, you can sink the knees and bring the hands in Namaskarasana in front of the chest in synchronicity, which minimizes any this and that. Single expression. And with exhalation, lifting up the knee, step into the front. And you can see this one is more difficult to keep the equal velocity. It's normal because there is imbalances, but with time you start to align towards a sameness in your transition. Arms in line with the ears, with inhalation starting rising up, hips to the front, knees are still synced, slightly synced, sorry. Back bending. And with exhalation, hands in Namaskarasana in front of the chest, and stretching up the knees and hips to the front, everything coming together in the sameness. one single expression, which is one functioning uniformly. And now with full awareness, releasing the arms, not creating difference in your speed. Thanks for joining this sun salutation workshop. I hope it was clear, the instructions and the principles. And if you have any comment you'd like to share or make any questions, just feel free. And there is some notes in the description or in the comments. You can just download and you can see if you want to do a self-practice. Then you have the whole thing listed and you don't have to keep on looking the video if you don't want, but you can just refer to the notes. So thanks for participating and I see you in the next videos. Namaste.